Hello everyone, this is Gary with your cards of the day, and before I start today I would just like to apologise if there's any background noises, but the heavens have literally opened up today, as they have been doing for the last couple of days, and there also does seem to be quite a lot of extraneous noises around me at the moment, so I do apologise if any of those come into our reading today and are slightly off-putting. Now, you'll notice that for today I have done a much larger spread. That's because I'm looking, in a sense, at the energies not only for today but to take us into tomorrow as well. So this is, in some respects, something I'm trying out, which is a kind of reading for the weekend, really. And I've also incorporated a lot of different cards from different decks, different deck types. There's quite a mixture here, so I'm just going to run through the card decks and their particular associations for you, and you'll begin to see how the whole thing works. I'm doing them in basically columns in this sort of format here. So we have a primary card in each case, which will show us, in a sense, the kind of central theme, which could be looked at as the emotions, it can be looked at as the thoughts before actions take place. And our cards beneath are showing us the actions, the supporting themes, and in a sense the approaches to each of the upper cards. It hopefully will become more clear as we go through. Deck wise, what we have is the Ancient Egyptian Oracle, the Ra-Ma'at cards by Norman Plaskett. This is a deck which I've wanted for a very long time, and it recently just arrived, so I'm very fortunate, very happy to have that deck and be able to include it. And I've married it up with the Ancient Egyptian Tarot by Clive Barrett. So I'm trying as much as possible to marry these up like for like energies. So we have an Egyptian Oracle deck with an Egyptian Tarot deck. This card here is from the Kabbalah cards by Paul Rowland and Sylvia Gainsford. I love Sylvia Gainsford's artwork. Absolutely incredible. I have pretty well all of her decks now, and I do love them a great deal. And I've married that up with the Thoth deck, for the reason that this is a Kabbalistic deck, and the Thoth has very strong Kabbalistic leanings in it. It's a very integral part, from what I'm learning, of the Thoth deck. Again, it's one of those words that different people will pronounce different ways, so apologies if you're one of those people that pronounces it Thoth, then apologies for that. The third section that I have is runic. This is Norse, and I begin with yet another Sylvia Gainsford deck, this time in partnership with Howard Rodway, and these are the Rune Vision cards, which is a stunning large-scale deck, and I've married that up with my second of my Clive Barrett decks, which is the Norse Tarot. So we have an Egyptian influence, we have a Hebrew influence, and we have a Norse influence. Now, moving to our first card, as you will see, these Ancient Egyptian Oracle cards are very unusual. We have Nephthys, and here what we have is a card, and a goddess indeed, that is very heavily associated with deep emotions, deep emotional connections, a great deal of emphasis on loved ones, partnerships, family, on loyalty as well. The description within the book actually says that Nephthys was the wife of the god Set, And she, in spite of Set's obvious rivalry, enmity in fact, with his nephew Horus, Nephthys actually nursed the young infant Horus and, you know, helped him to grow up as a young child. So she does make very, very strong connections and is incredibly loyal to them. There's also an element here indicating someone who actually values a partner who is a little out of the ordinary, a little bit of the unexpected to some extent. So, as a reading for today, the feeling here is there's going to be an emphasis on the connections that we make, on loyalty, on deep emotional levels, but also wanting one or two little surprises to come our way, and not necessarily wanting everything to be very same old and dull. There's definitely a feeling of desiring a little bit of the unexpected. Now, how that marries up with the tarot card that goes with it, we have the Nine of Cups, which is a wonderful card of fulfillment on an emotional level, of happiness, of young family, you might say, in some respects, and kind of getting what we want, getting our wishes. So the combination of these two gives us that desire to partner, that desire to have those we love around us, and to really, this being really a sort of our heart's desire almost. But the indication here is that we will be spending a lot of time either searching for that or enjoying that over this weekend. And it's a very, very positive emotional time, but with the odd little surprise here and there. Now, our third card, second column in fact, is the card of Geburah, which, as you can see, they have an association here to Mars. And the scene is very interesting because the scene is King Solomon, and it's the famous story of Solomon being asked to adjudge between two women, both of whom are claiming mothership of the baby that he is holding in his arms. And if you are not familiar with the way that the tale goes, just to remind you, two women approach Solomon and they ask him to adjudicate as to who is the rightful mother of the child, and both claim that it is they. And the decision, the way in which Solomon solves this one, is he doesn't actually say, you know, yes, you're the mother and no, you're not. He doesn't decide for them. He lets them show him. He says, well, I can't actually decide between you. You both seem to have equal claim. So what we'll do is we'll cut the baby in half and divide and give half to each of you. And that way, neither of you are cheated. And one of the women said, yes, that's fine, go ahead. And the other one says, no, don't do that. I would rather you give the child to the other woman than kill it. And that is how he realizes who the true mother is, because only the true mother would rather give the child away than see it killed. So here what we have is a card of decisions, a card of strength and wisdom, and really using that wisdom and that strength with compassion. That very much is the feeling that I get here. There's an awful lot of blue, there's an awful lot of purple in this card, which drives me to a conclusion of communication and also of a kind of a spiritual level to this. So it's taking the fiery red of Mars and tempering it with the blue of communication, and you get this sort of lovely purple shade. And this very much gives me a feeling of being strong over this weekend, being wise, showing that strength and that wisdom, but with a compassionate edge. So it's not the more dominant, aggressive side, in a sense, of Mars. It's more that sort of, in a sense, almost like a wise big brother kind of feel. It does make me feel like we may be put into that role over this coming weekend. And the card from the Thoth deck that goes along with it is the 10 of Cups. Now, this is interesting because we had the 9 of Cups from the ancient Egyptian tarot. Here we have the 10. This, interestingly, actually shows us the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, as all of the 10s do in the Thoth deck. We have that actually shown here. Geburah would appear here. So that you've got Kether, you've got Chokmah, you've got Bainar, and then, as I say, you have Geburah here. They go in this kind of order. Actually, here we have Chesed as well. So we have the Geburah Sephirah appearing here. And this is, again, a card of great emotional happiness, contentedness, connectedness. Again, with seeing the Tree of Life in its entirety here, if you like, seeing the all of the positions shown, this very much gives me a feeling of kind of complete emotional contentedness. So I do feel like this weekend could be a very, very happy weekend. And the way this combines with the card of Geburah is, for me, is one of saying, well, yes, you've got that strength, you've got that that wisdom and that compassion that you're showing, and that behavior leads us to a place of great benevolence, great happiness, being very connected with the people around us, and just really everyone feeling well, the name on the card, satiated, at the bottom here. Everyone just really feeling that energy and feeling good from it. Now, we move to our third column and to our rune card. And inevitably, when you're put in a position where a card comes up that shows you the potential for choice, or for having to make a choice, then a card will come up that will give you the reason that you have to make that choice. And here we have the rune of Hagal, or Hagalaz, depending on which language you're using the runes in. And this shows two very, in a sense, negative and destructive influences within the Norse pantheon. We have the goddess Hela, who is the goddess of the dead, and she is riding the dragon Nidhugg, who is the dragon of destruction. So this kind of influence makes me feel like there are going to be, in a sense, little flies in the ointment. There are going to be things that we will have to deal with over the course of this weekend. Hagalaz, or Hagal, or Hegel, does actually translate as hail. And it's kind of reminding me of the weather outside at the moment, which is extremely dull and rainy. We haven't had any hail yet, but there's time yet. And it looks very much like this. It's very kind of grey. So we have all of this beautiful, heartfelt, emotional energy against a backdrop of perhaps difficulty, perhaps issues that have to be dealt with, and things that are trying to upset the apple cart, so to speak. And it's we have to deal with that. That's where Geburah really comes in, because we have to know what the proper response to that is. And our accompanying card is the Princess of Wands. Now, this is equivalent to the Page in some decks. Suit of Wands, Suit of Fire. And she is holding up a torch, and I have seen this card come up in a reading before, specifically from this deck, and it very much gives the impression of searching all of the dark places, looking in your attic, metaphorically speaking, and shining a light on things. So the feeling I get very strongly from this is one of really search deep within yourself. Really look for the answers to the issues of Hagalaz within yourself. Shine a light on the difficulties. Don't shy away from them. Shine a light on them. Bring them out into that light and deal with them. And then they will hold no more power over you. And one of the things that I'm just being made aware of by my guides is the position of the princess, which I believe is position 10 on the Tree of Life. Now I will check that and I will post an annotation just to be absolutely certain of it. But this very much feels like a way of, because that position, it relates to the physical realm, the earth, it does very much make me feel like this is confirming that it's a way of getting through the difficulties that we've been facing, to ground them, to disperse them, and move things forward. So if we just do a recap very briefly on these cards, we have 3 columns. Our Egyptian column shows us emotional connections, family connections, romantic connections, and loyalty, and that real feeling of connecting with people, giving us a very joyous, wish-fulfilled sense of emotional happiness this weekend. We do have a potential to be in a position of having to show strength, wisdom, and assisting others in a kind of a big brotherly kind of role of benevolence, and that in itself leading to a place where everybody feels protected, feels satiated, really feels content emotionally. Yes, there is an indication of potentially some difficulties, some things that have to be dealt with, little flies in the ointment or that kind of thing, perhaps larger flies, mosquitoes, and we really need to deal with them, shine a light on them, discover what's going on, and get them out of the way, get shut of them, and then we can have this really happy time that seems to be indicated today. So, I hope you've enjoyed these cards of today and this rather different and somewhat more in-depth look at the energies around not only today but potentially around this weekend as well. As always, please feel free to leave me some comments and let me know how these themes interact with your day today and in fact with your weekend, so over today and tomorrow. Also, please feel free to check out my website, www.theseerscave.webs.com, for more information about myself, my various tools, which is being updated quite a lot of late, so I will be posting some updates on that side of things, and also more information on the readings that I offer. I want to wish everyone a really happy, loving, contented, wise and joyful weekend, and have a really good time. Don't let anything spoil it for you. I want to wish love, light, blessings and frith to you all.